The Angels are by far the most powerful race in Dragon Ball history, and this is obviously not counting Zeno, since we aren't even sure if he's the only member of his race, not counting his future counterpart of himself. But what are all of the angel powers of Dragon Ball Super? In today's video, we are not alone, as we are joined with Mike from Laughingstockmedia. How's it going?
Hey guys, so let's get into this right now, beginning with an incredible ability that the angels possess, which is the ability to reverse time. After Frieza blew up the Earth when Vegeta was on the verge of killing him, Whis reversed time by 5 minutes so that Goku would be able to go and defeat Frieza by blasting him with the Kamehameha and saving the Earth in time, and unfortunately denying Vegeta that win that he never was going to get. And later on in the story, however, we saw Beerus and Whis watching as Zamasu killed Gowasu. And as a result, after they got all the evidence they needed, Whis reversed time, they stopped him from killing Gowasu, his master, and then in turn at that point, were able to Hakai him right to, not another dimension, right into nothingness.
Angels somehow have the ability to send people to different dimensions. Now, the most notable example of this would have to be when Goku and Vegeta were training in the Resurrection of F-Arc, specifically in the Dragon Ball Super anime and not the Dragon Ball Super movie, and we actually see that they went to what we would call the Cloudy Dimension. Also is shown when Beerus was an angel in training, and he also teleported Goku to a hyperbolic time chamber-like dimension as well.
So another really great ability that the angels possess is that they can actually traverse through universes, whereas the vast majority of beings can barely even travel the universe itself using their abilities. And so for example, Goku with his instant transmission has to lock onto a key signature and go from, let's say, the Earth to Namek, or let's say go from the Earth to King Kai's realm, or even the Supreme Kai realm. So they're able to go from one universe like 6 into another universe like 7, which is an incredible ability that allows them to not only carry people to them, but also in order to potentially make a quick getaway, let's say if Zeno were to erase the universe that they were in.
Whis was able in both the anime and the manga to basically just give birth early. In a weird way, it's sort of like Whis was able to kind of predict or project how the baby was supposed to develop and just pop them out prematurely without Bulma having to go through a very painful pregnancy process that she unfortunately had to go through the hard way when she was giving birth to Trunks because there was no Whis around.
Another ability that they have that Whis had mentioned during the end of the Goku Black Arc is a superior ability to the Mafuba or Evil Containment Wave that would be able to seal away even someone as powerful as a being like Zamasu, who inevitably was able to even take over an entire timeline because of how powerful he became and how he transcended his physical form and materialized into the universe itself.
It's been shown that angels are capable of healing people. And the most recent example to show this would have to be in the Dragon Ball Super manga, where Whis came in after the battle with Gas and Elec, and he basically heals Monaito as a favor for Goku and his friends.
So another really great ability that the angels possess is that of matter manipulation. In other words, they're able to do something very akin to the gods of creation, the Supreme Kais or the other Kais, in which they were able to manipulate the very physical fabric of the universe itself to create tangible objects. Like for example, the cube that allows people to travel between universes, which is something that people wanted during the Universe 6, Universe 7 Tournament of Destroyers. Additionally, we saw a really interesting example where Whis actually created a kind of cat-looking mitten that he placed on Zamasu's hand when he was about to kill Gowasu, in order to prove that he was going to do that in the first place.
It has been shown that angels do have some type of destructive-like energy without really having to do anything. One good example that illustrates this directly is in the Dragon Ball Super anime, where we see Vados and Champa basically traveling through space, and Champa basically orders her to destroy a planet, and in this moment we see that Vados makes a very, very slight tap and an entire planet was completely destroyed.
Another really incredible ability is one that allows the angels to actually circumvent the cycle of life and death. in which we saw at the end of the Tournament of Power, Whis resurrected Frieza from the dead as a gift from Beerus. It almost makes the gift of the Dragon Balls resurrecting people seem lesser because of the fact that these angels can walk around and do it for them under the guidance of their god Destruction.
And this takes us directly to the fact that angels are basically capable of just communicating with the usage of their angelic staff. There have been numerous occasions where Bulma can directly communicate with Whis, and we've also seen this at other points throughout Dragon Ball as well, where angels have had some sort of communication with another character that was extremely far away.
A great ability that the angels possess is they are able to speak any language. We saw Whis demonstrate this effectively when he went to a planet in order to attain food for Beerus, and was able to speak a very primitive language of the native beings that live there.
It appears as if they're able to either create food or use their staff as some type of storage center for food. When Champa and Vados were on the Nameless Planet, and not only did Vados just basically pop a drink into existence, but she basically created mini restaurants on this Nameless Planet for Champa to have the time of his life.
The angels possess the ability to alter the atmosphere to make it sustainable for life for those who, let's say, breathe oxygen or require a certain type of atmosphere to survive, like the Earthlings. We saw this demonstrated at the end of Resurrection F in the movie and the arc after Frieza blows up the planet, and Whis creates a barrier that the Z-Fighters who are still alive go within in order to survive in space temporarily before Whis turns back time and allows Goku to defeat Frieza. Something we also saw used on the Nameless Planet before the Universe 6 tournament, and in turn makes it for angels to be able to help anyone to survive in any given situation.
Now this is a rather weird ability that's directly tied to an angel's anatomy, but we've seen throughout Dragon Ball Super that angels can survive without food or sleep, as they've confirmed this on numerous occasions, as you're seeing on your screen right now. And the interesting thing about this is that when it comes to food specifically, angels really just eat for their own satisfaction of eating itself instead of actually needing the food to survive. And the fact that angels can't sleep definitely brings up a point later on that we will discuss.
Another incredible ability that the angels possess seemingly naturally is one that Goku has been trying to attain and master for a very long period of time, which is the constant state of Ultra Instinct. As we've seen, all of the angels possess this ability and thus can move and can take action for defense purposes or even attack if they see fit without even thinking about their thoughts. This is something that Whis touched on in Resurrection F as he was showing Goku and Vegeta this ability and kind of giving them this inspiration to attain it in the future. And this makes them incredibly effective when it comes to day-to-day action. Except for when Whis steps in poop. But hey, it is a Toriyama production after all.
It's implied that angels have some foresight of the future, and this is obviously based off of the fact that if we look at Dragon Ball Super Chapter 87, it seems like Whis definitely knows something about this warrior in the universe that everybody is wondering about.
But now we're going to move on to the things that angels can't do. They seemingly are incapable of running out of energy, which is to say that much like Android 17 and 18, they appear to have perpetual energy. It also ties back into the idea that Qaaman mentioned earlier, that they can survive without the need of food or especially sleep in this case, which allows them to be ready for any and all tasks that they need to accomplish.
When it comes to restoring people back to life, they can't restore somebody back to life that's been killed by a demon, which goes back to earlier in Dragon Ball where being killed by a demon, that their souls couldn't rest until King Piccolo was actually killed. But the specific example that tied all of this in would have to be Marcarita and Gichin, who was Jiren's former master, where Marcarita could not restore him back to life because Gichin was killed by a demon, and as a result of that, Jiren needed the Super Dragon Balls in order to bring him back to life.
If a god of destruction dies, the angel becomes inactive or essentially is taken off the board and no longer able to interfere in the affairs of that particular universe. And thus, that is one of the biggest reasons why the angels were not able to interfere in, let's say, the events surrounding Goku Black, because the fact that when the god of destruction was eliminated through the Supreme Kai Link, the angels couldn't exactly intervene and put a stop to that tirade.
The angels cannot really take a side and have to be neutral. We see this directly when we go back to the Moro arc, specifically when Miris was an angel in training, essentially. Because he was directly fighting against Moro, he essentially just lost all of his angel powers and basically just became another mortal in Universe 7. But ultimately, Mike, if Miris was an angel of training, considering the fact that all of the current gods of destruction, even including Zeno being linked to the Grand Priest, all have an angel attendant. As a result of it, I mean, how does he really get a job?
Well, it's possible that the angels will alternate duty at times. Instead of being constantly in servitude for the rest of eternity, maybe sometimes they'll shift from one angel taking on the next god of destruction, and then in turn the other angel goes and relaxes, takes a much needed rest and vacation, and gets to live their life the way they want to. Or perhaps in the future, there's a possibility that more universes would be created, and then in turn the beings that would live in those universes would need to have a god of destruction, a god of creation, and an angel to patrol things and keep those gods in line. So it's entirely possible that's what Miris was doing.
Well, the thing about this that's a bummer though, Mike, is we know that we'll never get the answers to these angel questions because Dragon Ball Super needs these angels to be completely mysterious with all of these unique abilities so that we never know anything about them, so they can always use them in ways that we can't expect.
Absolutely. It is unlikely that we'll ever get a real definitive answer to that question.